All right, welcome back to the show. The last hour here of the week for me. Ken Pittman will be here tomorrow, so that's always a good deal. So it looks like Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed, so we can take a break from that. And I'm glad that the U.S. Senate worked perfectly on my schedule here so that I can do something a little different, which is have my friend Jarrod Tillinghast in studio to talk about his life, his ups, his downs, and some of the really interesting things he's doing right now. Jarrod, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. So let's talk about what you're doing, then we'll tell people who you are. So you have this amazing concept called Brawl For It All. Tell people what that is.
It's quite interesting, actually. We got this concept called Brawl For It All, where we take regular people off the street, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a politician, and we kind of settle their differences in the boxing ring, sanctioned by USA Boxing. So, it's kind of taking it back old school a little bit, you know.
Rather than throwing words around and fighting it out on Facebook, people can actually get in the ring. And don't you find that sometimes when the punches are over, and you would know better than I, the punches are over, that people can put their differences aside?
Absolutely. I had this one grudge with a bunch of family members and street guys, and they were out of Brockton, and there seemed no end to this war because it was bad. I mean, they were going back and forth on Facebook, and with my platform that I gave these guys, now you're looking at their Facebooks. I mean, they were going at it. It was toxic. And now today, they're taking pictures together on Facebook. It's kind of reunited a whole city. So it's been quite interesting, to say the least, with this concept.
And you yourself had what, over 60 fights, right?
Yeah, between amateur and professional.
Yeah. So you fought for, you were one of the few people, amateurs, that fought for Jimmy Birchfield.
Yes, I fought for Jimmy Birchfield, CES.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big name. A lot of people know that name around here. And then you turned pro.
And I turned pro. When amateurs, I didn't fight for Birchfield. I just kind of was a part of USA Boxing.
Okay.
And then when I turned professional, Jimmy Birchfield was my promoter.
55-4?
Altogether, yeah.
That's a lot of fights.
Yeah, that's a lot of fights, yeah.
Is it true what Mike Tyson says, that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face?
Yeah, I think everybody should get punched in the face at least once.
Not today, I hope, for me anyway. If you can't see this, folks, we're streaming it live on the YouTube website. So if you want to see why I'm asking him not to punch me in the face, it'll make a lot more sense to you. Yeah. 55-4. How many knockouts?
Jeez, I knock people out. That's what I do. I gotta
again, not to the end of the hour. Hopefully. I'll keep my behave. So, Jarrod, you look, I've had Tim White on here. Let's get into it a little bit. Tim White from Channel 12, who wrote a book about your dad, although he was the only one acquitted, I believe, in the bonded vault robbery. Who's your dad?
Jarrod Tillinghast.
And what's he known for?
He's known for organized crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys have a good relationship now, though.
Oh yeah, we always had a good relationship.
Always had a good relationship.
Yeah.
So your dad, you were 4 years old when your dad went to prison.
Yeah, 4. I was a kid.
But he still was able to hold the family together.
Yeah, he pretty much had control from wherever he was in prison at the time. He kind of kept his hand right on the. I used to. I laugh at it now when I think back. If I'd come home a minute late, every minute late was a week punishment.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible. I spent summers.
But he wanted to try to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. He was always in touch with the schools, always in touch with the guidance counselors, always had his hands in the mix.
And that reason we have to say hello to Sebastian and Julian.
Oh man.
Right, your two sons.
Those two guys, I'll tell you.
I was talking on the phone the other day with them, and they're going crazy in the car.
Yeah, they changed the game for me. Those two little guys are my life. I'm very, very fortunate. If anything, I say it all the time, I could become the most successful man in the world and make the most money in the world, but if I fail as a dad, none of that matters. So yeah, those two kids are my driving force, and it's important for me to leave the right legacy for those guys.
What was it like growing up with a dad as famous as Jarrod Tillinghast in Rhode Island and New England?
It was difficult. It wasn't easy. Between I couldn't really do much. I would, my younger teenage years, getting pulled over by a police officer or a cop, and they hear Tillinghast, and I'm 14.
They're calling for backup.
They're calling for backup. They got me out of the car. They're searching me.
Right.
I mean, they're fighting PlayStation video games on me and stuff. They'd have me out of the car, questioning me, taking pictures of me. Yeah, it's been quite the ride.
And you had a couple of scrapes of the law.
Yeah, a couple of them coming up. Yeah.
We have a book here by Jeff Pearlman, which is the best American sports writing. It's a collection of sports stories.
Yeah.
And it features a story written about you.
Yeah.
And it talks about the night you got stabbed in the head.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, Jarrod.
Coming up, I kind of was on the cusp of going one way or the other way,
Mm-hmm.
and I made some bad choices along the way, and I hung with some guys that were pretty serious, and we were setting up drug dealers and robbing them, and so I had this one.
Because you can knock people out, right?
Well, that was my weapon. I didn't need one. I had a left hook.
Right. Right.
So I never used the weapon, and I just kind of always knew that, I could hit somebody with a hook and put them to sleep, and no problems.
Right.
So we set up this one kid, and I went in the house. The deal was going down. I kind of had some fake newspaper ripped up in a brown baggie, and I threw it on the bed, and
And how much marijuana is on the table?
It was about 30 pounds.
30 pounds, which is like, what, 30, 40 grand worth?
Well, it
Maybe
was
60
It
grand.
was kind of the upper grade, the good one, so it was probably like $1.50 worth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a heavy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you don't want to work for minimum wage.
Well, if I'm going to do it,
You got to do it, right? It's the same charge if it's 30 grand or 150, right? So there's $150,000 worth of weed on the table, and you got a brown paper bag full of ripped up money or ripped up paper.
ripped up newspaper and elastics.
He didn't think that was fair.
I'm sorry.
They didn't think that was a fair trade.
Well, they didn't know they had to.
Oh.
There were so many elastics on the bag. By the time they took them off, they would have had a beard.
So then what happened?
So I asked, "Do you have where's the weed?" He said, "Where's the money?" I threw the brown baggie on the bed. I looked over to my left. I seen the 3 or 4 green garbage bags full, but he had a guy in the apartment with him, and I kind of wasn't the plan.
Right.
So
And you alone?
I was alone,
Yep.
and I had a friend of mine waiting outside in the car, so I kind of called my buddy in the house to keep the other kid at bay, and the plan was to hit him with a hook and put him to sleep and just walk out, no problem.
Right.
So I don't know what came over me. I just I felt bad. I didn't want to.
I could tell that you feel bad telling the story now, actually.
Yeah. It stings a little bit talking about who I am today and who I was then.
It's part of the journey.
It's part of the journey. Amen. So, yeah. So I called my buddy in the house to keep the other kid at bay, and something came over me, and I didn't really hit him. I just kind of grabbed him and threw him on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a wrestling match. It started. We were going. My friend Ronnie started wrestling with the other kid, and they were, it was ugly. So I'm holding the kid on the bed by his neck and in between the wall and the bed, and I turned my head to the left to look and tell my buddy to grab the bags, and the kid reached under the bed and pulled out a butcher knife and jammed it up in the back of his head, and it kind of sunk into my head, my skull a little bit. And once I realized, I grabbed his hand, I pulled the knife out, and I bent his hand back, and I took it off him, and then, of course, I hit him with a couple of hooks, and that was that. And then I get up and knocked his buddy out and grabbed the bags, and we were out. But I had about 60 stitches in my head, and yeah.
And you never did it again?
Never did it again. That was it.
One time only, learned your lesson.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But you're lucky probably you didn't put the butcher knife into him, because we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, I think about that all the time. I think the fact that I had turned my head to the left because it was right at my eye level, and he jammed it up in my ear. And if I had just turned my head back a quick second, it probably would have went in my eye. And I don't know how I would have reacted.
Right.
Pulling a butcher knife out of my eye.
No.
You know?
You wouldn't look as good as you do now either.
Well, not as sexy as I
No,
am right
you
now.
wouldn't be anywhere near as sexy as you are right now, brother. No,
Right.
a butcher knife sticking out of your eye.
No,
or an eye
that-
patch. Well, the eye patch isn't bad. If you have a parrot, an eye patch isn't bad.
Yeah. Would have been good for Halloween, right?
One time a year, you would have been a hit.
Perfect.
So you retired from boxing. Talk about your last fight, because you had what was your last fight like, and why did you decide to retire from boxing?
I don't. Well, I retired for boxing because I made the fatal error of getting married. Sorry, but I got married.
I'm not married. Don't tell me.
But I
That's
don't
good
think that would
advice out
happen
there,
again,
folks.
but
Don't rob
yeah,
drug dealers. Turn your head if they're trying to stab you, and don't get married.
True.
There's a lot of things to be learned today here from Jarrod Tillinghast. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I got married, and they came to my first couple of fights, and they seen I had broke my nose and the bleeding profusely all over the ring. And
But you still won that fight.
of course, yeah. So, yeah, so I kind of like, I got hit pretty good, and the blood looked really bad, and they kind of, didn't want me to take punches. And so I said, for the sake of my family and having my little guys, I kind of walked away from it and went to school and got a degree in education. And
Good.
yeah.
So, how did you come up with the idea for this Brawl For It All?
Actually, a longtime promoter and friend of mine, Rich Capiello, who promoted a lot of my fights out of Boston, and I fought on a lot of his amateur shows. He had this idea and concept, so he came to Rhode Island with it, and he knew I was the one to talk to because my network is pretty crazy. So he came to me with it, and he happened to come at just the right time because I had two friends that were going at it heavy, and every time they seen each other, they were fighting up Federal Feast, and it was just ugly, And I said, listen, he had just came to me with the concept, and I said, well, I have the platform for you guys. Why don't we do it this way? So they both agreed, and that was it. We were off and running with it, and it was a huge success the first show.
And you're planning something for next summer?
I have something coming up, but
Okay.
I'm really I'm in contact with a few people in the industry and the business in the industry of law enforcement and for firefighters. I'm trying to come up with this idea of doing a police versus fire, police department versus fire department
I love it.
as a charity.
Okay.
I'm trying to do something like a brawl on the beach, maybe put the ring right on the beach in the summer and let them do a charity event of their choice, and we give the money back to the charity.
Folks, we're speaking with Jarrod Tillinghast. He's got an amazing story. We're going to continue speaking with him. We do have to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you some information on how you can get involved in this, how you can actually recommend someone or recommend yourself to Jarrod to try to get involved in doing this. He'll give you plenty of lead time. We're going to take a very quick break here on the Chris McCarthy Show. Stick around at 1420 WBS. All right, good morning. Welcome back to the show. I'm Chris McCarthy. Thank you so much for joining me. As you can tell, we're doing something a little different. It's Friday. You know, we've had a rough week. There's been a Brawl For It All down there in Washington. Looks like that's settled. So conveniently, they were on my schedule, and I appreciate that of the United States Senate. So we have Jarrod Tillinghast here in studio, who's being remarkably honest with us and telling us his personal story and the great things that he's doing now. So your dad goes to prison when you're 4 years old. Did you ever go up to visit him?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
When I was younger, I didn't really understand, but I think the hardest part of the visit was always leaving.
Sure.
I talk about it in the book, about the yellow line that you couldn't cross at the end of the visit. And
explain to people what that means if they've never been there.
Well, you have an hour visit with them, and
could you touch him? Could you?
Yes.
Okay. Contact visit.
There were times where I would talk through the glass.
Okay.
And as time went on, and as he would advance. Like if he started off at Supermax, then he gets to maximum, medium, minimum,
right.
and the more time he's spending in there, the more the more we're being able to actually interact.
Okay, they use that as a privilege and
Yes. So so the yellow line at the end of the visit was difficult for me. A lot of emotions at that moment. Leaving, where at the end of the visit, they say 5 minutes, the guards, and so then you get up and you say your goodbyes, and he walks you to the yellow line when we go out one way and he goes to the back, and so that part of the visit, even before I got there, stung.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. How old were you when you got out?
Oh, he's been out 8 years now.
So
7, 8 years.
And you were 44, 43?
I'm 44.
44 years old. So
yeah.
Your entire life, you basically. 8 years ago.
Yeah, he did 30 years straight. Long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
What was it like when you got out? It must have been weird, right? A little. I'm not weird. I don't know if that's the right term. I mean.
Yeah, weird's the right term. It was different. Unfamiliar territory, I guess.
But of course, you don't know anything else anyway, right? So that's the other part of it.
Right, but I only knew one dad.
Right.
From prison.
Right.
Now he's home, and they made a joke when he was coming home. They made a joke about when Jarrod Tillinghast went to prison. He couldn't tell the difference between an iPad or an iPhone. So he comes home and he listens to the news. We're all in the kitchen with him, and he's watching the news. He goes, "What are they talking about?" I know the difference between an iPhone and an iPad. So he picks up the iPad and tried to make a call. So the whole house burst out laughing. Yeah, that was a funny moment right away. So we still bother him about that.
And he's doing well?
Yeah, he's doing really well. Yeah, he's laid back. Dad's he's finally, I'm very comfortable with him and the way he lives, and he's doing good.
Because I just got to imagine you're a serious guy, your dad's a serious guy, both strong-headed, right? Must have been a little bit of, hey, yeah. Dad, I'm my own boss, right? Did you buck heads a little bit when he came out?
We bucked heads the whole time.
Okay, all right. Well, that's honest, right?
Yeah, we bucked heads the whole time, and our relationship is we're very close. Like we have.
You're Irish, right?
Yeah. We're very close. We bucked heads, but me coming up, I didn't want to be Jerry's son. I had a first name before a last.
Right.
And I'm Jarrod Tillinghast.
Right.
So coming up, and I have 9 brothers and sisters, and most of my brothers and sisters leaned on, I'm Jerry's son, I'm Jerry, and
right.
For me, that was never the case. And I didn't, I would do things and he would tell me about them. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, "Because I got my own crew. I do my own thing."
Right. Such as, can you tell us?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us something?
Like.
I mean, I don't want to become a witness in anything.
No. I told you,
yeah.
I'm wide open. So I don't know. Maybe one night we'd go out and we'd go to a club and get in a fight, and I'd shut the building down.
Right.
And I wouldn't say nothing, and the damage I've done with bounces and knocking guys out, and so.
And that would get all the way back to prison.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Rhode Island.
Oh, that's true. So was he locked up in Rhode Island? Or he was locked up in Massachusetts.
He was in Mass. He was in Walpole. He was in Norfolk. He was in Florida. They shipped him all over.
Oh, they moved him around.
Yeah, they moved him around pretty much. Yeah.
Was that to try to just to mess with him, or that's just the way it is?
I don't think it was to mess with him. I think maybe different people would come through the system and they wanted to keep those people safe.
Oh.
So they would
All
ship
right.
him out of town. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So they they do that with certain inmates. I guess there's a list of them. I have a bunch of friends who are guards, and just the other day, one of them told me when he first got on, the warden gave him a list of 11 guys that you need to look out for.
Okay.
And Dad was on the list. So yeah.
Yeah. So he got moved around, but then were you ever incarcerated for any period of time?
Never.
Never.
No.
Nope. That's good.
Yeah. I hung with some serious guys. I have to be honest. And being an athlete.
Yeah, we talked off the air, but we're not going to say it on the air.
Yeah, no,
No, we don't.
Okay. Yeah, no, I my network is pretty crazy.
I got to live here.
I just made the right choices at the right time.
Isn't that the truth, right?
Yeah, because it's really try. I think back and I think back when some of my good friends were going to do certain things. I said I'm going to go home, right. And those moments that I made that choice to go this way instead of that way, it really paid dividends in my life, and it really kind of brought me to where I am today. And I dodged bullets, and but I always made the right choice, and I kind of shied away from all the serious stuff that some of the people I was with got into.
We're speaking of Jarrod Tillinghast. So, Jarrod, this Brawl For It All, if someone is interested in getting involved, tell folks how they can reach out to you, if they want to be involved in this as a sponsor, maybe, or as a participant.
Yeah, either way, we have
participant particularly.
Yeah, we want participants. We want
we need something in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
gladiators.
There's politicians out there that don't like each other. These Democrats, Republicans, they're going at it daily.
Right.
Put the gloves on instead of using the words of the war of words.
And they find it on Facebook at Brawl For It All.
Facebook at Brawl For It All. My Facebook, Jarrod Tillinghast. I'm on Instagram. I'm LinkedIn. So,
it's Jarrod.
Yes.
Tillinghast.
Yes.
I know that you do a couple of things that I think are really important and unique. Number one, you try to bring on guys or hire guys for your company that came right out of the ACI. Try to give them an opportunity, right? One of the things you guys do, a little bit of rehabilitation stuff.
We do some. I work with the organization through the Amos House with Mr. Scott.
Okay. And
what we do is, one of my foundations, Fighting for a Chance. What we do is, Mr. Scott, he takes guys out of the ACI or out of prison,
right,
wherever it's from, and he kind of teaches them a trade, maybe carpentry or something. And through my Fighting for a Chance, I go around and I help people in need.
Okay.
We raised money one time for a handicap accessible van. We build ramps, handicap accessible ramps for people that can't. This one girl, Jenna, she passed away now, but we built her a ramp where she couldn't get in her house.
She's in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah, she was in a wheelchair.
And you widened the doors for her house?
That's Sophia.
Oh, that was Sophia.
Sophia in Central Falls. Yeah, she was. She outgrew the wheelchair and she was getting a little bigger, and so she couldn't fit through the doorways in our house anymore. So we teamed up with the Amos House and Mr. Scott and these prisoners that were coming out learning a trade, and we went in and opened doors and build ramps and stairways, and yeah.
So when you do this Brawl For It All, a portion of the proceeds go towards these charitable events.
Go towards these charitable events, so we can have the income to, run these projects for them. So yeah, they go towards Fighting for a Chance.
Fighting for a Chance. That's the name of the. That's the name of the group. Yeah. Name of your foundation. So, what's the best? You mentioned the people from Brockton. Expand on that a little bit. So, what were they? Was it a family of people? The internal fighting, or was it two different families going at it? How did that work out?
It started with two family members. A cousin, two cousins fighting.
Okay.
But it was really bad. It got to the point where the sister and one of their sisters and the wife they went and met up and they got in a fist fight on Facebook over it. It was really
Women fighting.
Oh yeah.
Do you have women fight in the Brawl For It All?
Yeah, we had women fight in the Brawl For It All. Yeah.
All right.
Well, USA Boxing sanctioned, and it's
that's important. Yeah.
Safety is key in this, and we use 16-ounce gloves, big headgear. We supply you with trainers. We supply everything you need to settle the grudge.
Okay.
So it's
not a street fight. It's a very safe.
You have to go get doctors checked. You got to get checkups. You got to pass the checkups. There's a process, and we supply you with trainers. We supply you with everything you need to prepare for the moment.
So you did that for these folks from Brockton.
We did it for everybody that comes through our program.
Right. Yeah. But these people from Brockton. So then what happens?
So the first fight was.
How many fights were there?
We usually have about 10 to 12 grudges.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, girls fighting grudges. We had 3 or 4 girls fighting. Yeah, so the Brockton fight was family members which connected to friends, and they were calling each other out, and so they fought each other twice.
The same night?
No.
Oh, 2 different matches?
2 different shows that I ran back to back, and one of them were a rematch, and the rest of them, all their friends and family came on, and just they were fighting each other. Now, it didn't look like there was an end to it. It was bad.
Okay.
And I had to manage a lot of these Facebook accounts, watching what they would say, how they would say it, and I would send them an inbox going, guy, that's a little too much.
Right.
Back off.
Right. This is in the run up to the fight.
This is the run up, the build up to the fight. Now today, through our platform, I look now on Facebook, and they're taking pictures together. It's reunited.
Beautiful.
It's really it's something unique that I happen to witness firsthand. I'm really impressed with how these guys responded to it.
How long does it take? So someone from inception to the ring of the bell. How long does it normally take from someone? They give you their name and they reach out to you. How long does it generally take for them to get in the shape and do the doctor stuff and all that stuff?
We give them about 8 weeks.
Okay.
8 to 10 weeks, maybe, depending on what the date is. But we'll give them a good 8, 10, 12 weeks to prepare.
And you help train them.
We supply them with trainers. We supply them with everything they need. With the agreement at the end that the beef gets settled.
It's over.
That you shake hands and make up, and it
sounds like my childhood. Yeah. My father would push the kitchen table out of the way. Yeah. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
and I'm not settling anything actually, but
well, in today's day and age, they're shooting, they're stabbing. I mean,
right. So Jarrod, that's an excellent point, right? Because when you see these things start to go.
Yeah,
it can really end badly and quickly. Stupid.
And the ripple effect, it's so toxic to somebody gets hurt serious. It affects their family. It affects there's these people are grandmothers. Not grandmothers, but their aunts, their uncles, their brothers, their sons.
Right.
So yeah, the ripple effect could really do damage with this here. I mean, you get in a fight. You have an agreement after the fight. After you settle your grudge, we shake hands and make up, and it's been really successful.
We're speaking with Jarrod Tillinghast from Rhode Island, who's got this, remarkably interesting life story, and this amazing project. I know you folks at home would be interested in this. If you can go to Facebook and look for Brawl For It All, and that's how you get involved. Reach out to Jarrod and his team to get involved with it. Now, what other things are you involved in now?
Well, excuse me.
That we can talk about on the radio. No, I'm kidding.
It's all good now. Everything.
I like that.
Life is very good.
Perfect.
I'm very blessed, and but we just did Tim Struby, is a writer. My cousin Seth DeRobio, was telling Tim, who Seth is in the boxing industry. He works with Evander Holyfield. He's up and coming as a promoter, matchmaker. So Seth has a connection with Tim Struby, a writer, and he told Tim about me and my story. So Tim called me. He spent like 2 weeks in Rhode Island. He went back, never the same. He still talks about the experience here with us. So, so he spent a couple of weeks with me, and I gave him my story, and he did a story on me in Victory Journal, and the Victory Journal won that the award that story won was top best American sports writing for 2018, which is in all the major bookstores around the world now.
It's called The Best American Sports Writing. It's Jeff Perlman's the editor who put the book together, but Jarrod's story is in there on what page?
261.
261.
Yeah.
His bodyguard has a photographic memory.
Yeah.
She told me.
So
they're going to do what with this?
So this is off of this article winning this award. Animal Kingdom Production had got in touch with me, and I just signed the life agreements, right? And we're doing a TV series, or what direction they're heading towards a TV series more, based on my life, based on a true story, Sins of the Father.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We have a call.
All right.
Good morning. Thanks for holding. You're live on the air with Jarrod Tillinghast and Chris McCarthy.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Jarrod.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. Hey, the good thing about robbing drug dealers is that they'll never call the cops, right?
That's the reason I did it.
Now, I got to ask you a question. You obviously had to go to the hospital for that injury. How did you explain that at the hospital?
Great question. Great question.
Have a few questions thrown back at you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
That's a great question. So I'm very creative on the fly, and I'm very good at coming up with things. So I walk into the hospital, and doctor comes in the room, and I'm like, Doc, I was fixing the air condition in my window. I bent over and I stood up, and the corner of the air condition stuck into my head, and I just kind of went with the pointy part of the air condition, putting it in my window.
And you thought of this with a knife you just pulled out of your head.
Yeah.
Jeez, you must be great without a knife in your head.
We had I took the knife with me. I had it under the car seat in the parking lot. So it's quite unique because that weed and the kid was connected to some Colombian guys, and I guess so. I was at Fatima Hospital in North Providence with a few of my friends, telling them about how I stood up with the air conditioning the corner of the air conditioner sticking me in my head, and as I'm telling the doctor that in the room, these guys are surrounding the hospital.
The Colombians.
Oh yeah, they were surrounding the hospital. They had about 20 cars. So now they're walking in the hospital, looking in all the room. I'm like, oh my God! So I kind of snuck into the bathroom and just stayed there, and then I had to call some of my friends on the police department and let them come clear the parking lot out so I can get out of there. Yeah.
But they never questioned the air conditioning story. The doctor doesn't care anyway,
no, the
right?
doctor didn't question it, but I said I dropped something and I stood up fast and the corner stuck into my head, and he never really questioned it.
They never questioned it.
No.
Was that your only trip to the hospital?
No. That's many visits to the hospital.
Many visits to the hospital.
Yeah.
Many visits to the hospital.
None of it was from boxing.
No. Other people though.
Yeah.
Other people from boxing with you.
Yes.
They went to the hospital.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk show hosts? No, not so much. No. All right, that's good. We're good. Hey, Jarrod, listen, it's been a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really,
I appreciate you having me.
The door's always open. Let's see what this is. I don't know. Actually, we'll take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. Jarrod. So, again, if you want to get involved with Brawl For It All, you can look up Jarrod Tillinghast, Jarrod Tillinghast on Facebook, or also just Brawl For It All on Facebook, and they can get all the information they need, right?
Yeah, everything's there. You can get all the information. Leave your name, leave us a message, and we'll get back to you, and we'll start talking about the grudge and how we're going to go about settling it.
All right, super. Thanks, Jarrod. Thank you so much. The door's always open for you here on the Chris McCarthy Show. So nice to meet you. We'll be right back, folks. Stick around. We're going to talk Red Sox baseball in the for the remainder of the show. Why?
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't cheat. That doesn't help. But it just, 1 year the Super Bowl champions are the hunted, and the Eagles aren't used to that role, obviously, because this was the first time they won one. So,